So, in recent days, and we've talked about this several times here, we've witnessed very, very intensive efforts by both the US President and the Europeans, as well as by Ukrainian President Zelenskyy, to truly take steps towards a genuine, just, and sustainable peace. This has been pursued with great effort. I believe significant steps have been taken, particularly by US President Trump, the Europeans, and also by Zelenskyy, to truly move towards peace. The only one we see not taking these steps is Vladimir Putin. And that's why I think it's important, based on what we've seen in the past few days, Putin must now deliver. Putin must show that he has a serious interest in a peace agreement. We are counting on making this process a success for Ukraine, a success for European security. And that's how I understood the Chancellor's statements. I am not aware of a specific timeline or deadline. However, I would like to reiterate why these security guarantees are so important to us. The issue is that, if it comes to that, a very big if, at the end, if a peace agreement is reached, we want to prevent this peace agreement from being used by the Russian side merely to buy time and later resume their original goals, which apparently include taking over Ukraine. Security guarantees are meant to prevent this. Therefore, robust security guarantees are a crucial element in the discussion around a possible peace agreement for us. As I said, from our perspective, we are still at a relatively early stage. We have made significant progress, including, I believe, the commitment from the US side to participate in security guarantees. These are important steps that have been taken. Nevertheless, I believe we are still quite away from concrete decisions and specific.
We strongly reject the settlement project E1, which would significantly extend into the West Bank and effectively separate the northern part of the West Bank from the southern part through this large territorial expansion. This is not only about E1, but also about the expansion of the Ma'ale Adumim settlement nearby. According to our information, the building authority has granted approval today. The position of the federal government is clear. We strongly reject this approval. The settlement construction violates international law and relevant UN Security Council resolutions. It hinders a negotiated two-state solution and an end to the Israeli occupation of the West Bank, as called for by the International Court of Justice. Plans for the E1 settlement would particularly restrict the mobility of the Palestinian population in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. It would become even more difficult due to the lack of cohesion, and you may also be aware of the geographical gradient there, which slopes steeply towards the Jordan, making it extremely difficult and requiring significant detours. Exactly. In fact, the whole situation would result in the West Bank being divided into two parts, and the federal government is calling on the Israeli government to halt settlement construction and will only recognize changes that are agreed upon by the conflicting parties, specifically based on the borders of June 4, 1967.